Hello. Welcome to the stream. It has previously been known as the as yet unnamed crafting stream, but I think today, in the final stream of January, I will officially take a stance and say that I believe it will be called Janity's Crafting Corner. It feels good in my heart. It feels good to say. I have expressed it. That is my official announcement. I'm also going to pop this stream open in my browser, as well as play the music that you all will be listening to today, because I'm very excited about this mix. Yes. So please say hi in the chat once you pop in. Let us know how your day is going. Let us know how you are doing. All of that jazz. During last week's stream, if you were not able to make it, we went through a list of what all of the things were in my work in progress box. We had a Boba Fett, a Giorno Giovanna, a Monokuma, a Great Sexuale, a Chunky Chibi Mouse, a Froggo, a Dracula, an Axolotl, a Giant Fox, some Pride Mushrooms, some Pride Snails, and a big old Totoro. By popular demand, these are the projects that I finished. We put together the axolotl, sewed together the frog, and made these little difficult to name parts, which I have decided will be called the eye thingies. And this Boba Fett, at the beginning of the stream, all I had was the little green piece. It did not have the black, it did not have the red, but with the power of felting and reference images, we were able to get it done. So there's your visually interesting opener for the day. If you could not tell based on the heavy nostalgia music and the fact that it is written on screen, which does help, I will be making some characters from the video game Final Fantasy VII today. I'm actually still midway through my own personal playthrough of Final Fantasy VII. My hope was to finish it by the time the 25th anniversary came around, so that I could properly, look at all the retrospectives, have something to say, not get spoiled by anything. But alas, it has been a very, very funky week in terms of health, particularly insomnia. So playing video games was not my number one priority in terms of general well-being. It had to be a low-pressure situation. However, I've played a great amount of the game. And I have played the parts of the game where you run around with the characters that I'm making on the stream today. I have given a little warning that you can see on screen for light spoilers, meaning probably things you could figure out by watching a trailer or chatting with someone or reading the back of the box. Kind of a thing, not like a major plot point or any sort of ending or twist and turn. Same goes for the remake. They did do some things differently in the 2020 remake of Final Fantasy VII. And while I did not play that myself, I did watch Garbage Goat play, and I think 100% the entire thing. There was a lot of pull-up contests. Yeah, I don't understand folks who 100% games, but I'm glad that someone enjoys doing it because there's so much out there. Here is my pile of things to work with today. Got a bunch of things pre-made. I thought that to maximize what we would be getting done, it would be better to do more putting things together and sewing than it would be actually just crocheting it out. So we've got these little heads. These are for Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and Barrett. I like to stuff the heads ahead of time because you just make it all in one go. And if you stuff it right before you finish at the end, you have a little bobble all ready to go, which is wonderful. Then we've got these little bodies. Some of them have arms. Some of them, the arms are separate. Some of them have legs. Some of them have a little skirt, just based on the character design. And for some, but not all of them, there is a piece for the hair that pops right on top. I think I'm gonna give a start with Tifa and clear off all of the non-Tifa visual elements. Today I am drinking honey, turmeric, and I believe there's ginger in there, but I only have so much space to type it all out. And in reading the tea label was the moment I discovered that it also contained ginger. So turmeric, ginger, and honey is what has steeped in my cup today. This doesn't belong here at all. This is from a hat that I was making. Boop. I am trying to do, because of the insomnia, a low caffeine kind of day, where I've had a single cup of tea that was caffeinated, and that is it. I am done. We're complete. All right, wonderful. I've got a little box. I'm setting those to the side. So you may have noticed. Hold on. I'm trying to sit in a way that is comfortable, but also keeps my head near the microphone. You may have noticed that there are two big old floofy pieces. These are meant to be the hair for this character. I did make two, because the first one was okay, but not great, and I wanted great. So this first one I actually used, if you flip it this way, you can see if you put it on a head that it's got, it's not bangs, but it's sort of a side part, where the part is here. This is actually the base for Isabella from Encanto, because I've been working on some Encanto characters as well. And so I thought perhaps if I used it, it would work well with Tifa. I tried putting on some loop stitches on the back. Unfortunately, I did not realize that the way that I did the loop stitches, there's a little bump on it. I should have done it the other way around. And also, Tifa does have bangs, and so I wasn't super satisfied with this. So I tried again. I did bangs for real. Like individual little strands, and I did the loop stitch the right way around, so there's no sort of edge to it. The bangs can be done, it's just a single short little row going all the way out, slightly longer as you go. And then a loop stitch is actually something I learned about recently. These are just the same stitch that has been going all the way around this whole head, but you don't pull it as tight. You actually pull one of the loops out super far, so that you could then cut them and have them look like strands. Or if you have a short little loop, it's like a fuzzy, like a rug texture. I did not know that this stitch existed until I was commissioned to make a realistic German Shepherd, and I found a lovely pattern for that, actually. Like great proportions. It looks really good. I'll have to share pictures at some point. But the tail was made using a loop stitch. I didn't elect to do that because I was making it for an infant, and so I made my own version of the tail. But I was so curious about this stitch that I had never heard of, and it's great for amigurumi hair. Delightful. I have saved my favorite part for the stream, which is where you get to take each individual loop and snip it off. I'm going to do my best to snip satisfyingly in front of the microphone for some excellent yarn ASMR. If that is not your thing, anytime the microphone is in this window, it'll be happening, so you can mute that, and then when the microphone leaves, you can unmute. So let's see how this works. My apologies for the clattering of scissors in the end of this little soft noise section, but you can see that once all the loops are snipped, you get something that looks like hair. The character of Tifa, her design is that it's sort of loosely held back in a ponytail. I've already set aside a little bit of yarn in the same color as her gloves and her boots to serve as the little ponytail holder. I suppose we're going to need to use one of these strands to sew this piece on. I'm going to choose this one. Pardon me. So the character of Tifa is the childhood friend of the protagonist that you play as. So you sort of return to your hometown. You've been hired as a mercenary because Tifa knew you were looking for a job. But you kind of find out that within this group, Tifa is kind of the punch girl. She's got, you would, in D&D terms, she would definitely be a monk. Let me see, I really want to make sure to get the hair placement right. Okay, I think that's good. So she's very fast. She has a variety. All of her weapons are some sort of glove or like fisticuff sort of a deal. Which these little arms, I've done my best to indicate the glove on the end. The nice thing about adapting characters from a I believe it's a PlayStation 2 game. So, no, it's not. It's a PlayStation 1 game. So it's very, what's called low poly, which is where visually three-dimensional video games are rendered in polygons. And when you have fewer polygons, they are low, so low poly. If you look at older games and see some of them look kind of blockier, then you'll see that that's a low poly game, and that is what Final Fantasy VII looks like, which is great for me because I don't have to adapt a super complex design to something simple because Squaresoft already did that for me. Also, hello Winston and Rick. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like how I did the bangs. Unfortunately, Punch Girl is almost definitely trademarked, but Punch Girl is also the subgenre of sorts of many of my Dungeons and Dragons characters. I have a Punch Girl who's a monk, a Punch Girl who's a barbarian, I have a Punch Girl who's a multi-classing disaster, but they are all Punch Girls. This Punch Girl in particular, hold on, I need stuff in. This Punch Girl in particular did get a very lavish HD remaster nearly 2 years ago, which this is a child-friendly stream. However, the remaster only served to further highlight the anatomical improbability of her character model, shall we say. But I'm not trying to highlight those features. I am simply going with my standard chibi pattern. You can tell the outline of the clothing, and that is what is important. Okay, she's got her little sport shorts on, she's got her fighting boots, and her white top, which is sleeveless. There are two different ways that I do the torsos. Actually, I can show you a comparison of two torsos that are the same in two different styles. So this is my first attempt at a different character, Cloud. And this is with the arms crocheted right in. So this is good if you have a little bit of like a jutting of a sleeve or something like that. It works particularly well if you need to have the same color throughout. This is my current design for the same character, where you just attached the arms on instead, since he does have a sort of sleeveless turtleneck thing going on. I didn't quite get it right in the original. And I think that I put this little doohickey on the wrong side. So, I'm glad I didn't use that. But sleeveless Tifa gets sleeveless arms. Thank you for appreciating my tact, Winston. There's enough internet on the internet. I don't feel a need to add more. Oh, and very importantly, the soundtrack you're listening to is the original Noibu Orimatsu soundtrack for the game. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was groundbreaking then. It's still incredible. I'm not even finished with the game myself, and it makes me feel all of the feelings. There are gorgeous leitmotifs and themes for individual characters. Even like the menu screen is beautiful, or the silly like, let me race this chocobo in this strange mini game while the world is falling apart. Music is fun. Yeah. I did also, oh my. So Paul once said, "There's enough internet for all of us." I don't agree, but he said it. I think I would have to hear the context and know the person to know if I agree with the fact that there is enough internet for all of us. That could mean so many things. Some of them very alarming. Some of them very wholesome. Some of them somewhere in the middle. All right. Here's our girl. One thing that is nice about Tifa, particularly compared to Barrett and Cloud for the design element, is that her arms are symmetrical. She doesn't have any funky armor plates or a gun for an arm, as the case may be. She just got two punching hands. I didn't particularly love having Tifa as a character in my party when I was playing, which apparently is not the case for many people, who I do not discredit by any means. I don't know, when there's something about the like animations of like weird magic stuff and like pew pew guns and things like that makes running and punching seem much less cool. I'm not sure. Also, her limit break, which is sort of the move once you've received a lot of damage, you get to do a special move. Her limit break is just punch and then punch more. Whereas like other people get to turn into a giant monster or like summon meteors from the sky or like shoot the energy out of people. So I would much rather play with other characters. My core lineup is Cloud, who's required, but is also great to play, Barrett, and Aerith. Though I am very partial to the optional characters in the game, Yuffie and Vincent. They did not make it into this round of plushies, but I'm sure they will make it into future ones, particularly Vincent, because that's a really cool looking character. Actually, the hair would end up looking very similar to this, because he's sort of a dark-haired, cool guy with a gun. Alright. The challenge in sewing these two pieces together is certainly going to be in not picking up any of these stragglers in the loop as I sew. Nice. Tifa's limit break is 25% of JoJo fights. I think maybe if Tifa was screaming Oro, Oro, Oro over and over again, then she would have quickly rocketed to be my favorite character to play as. But notably, she does not. And so, here we are. Even if she summoned some spectral being to do the punching for her, I think I would like it. But it just didn't click for whatever reason. This track is like the atmospheric, exploratory, like something's happening and you're finding out what music. Oh, thank you. I did try to, I have a few different shades of red. I like to have a variety of yarn colors. Winston said, I like how well you matched the colors to the red in her design. I have a variety of yarn colors. I don't want to have too many because I do regularly use them, and so I'm restocking them all the time. And I don't want to be like wasteful, but I do have 2 different reds. The other red is farther away, but it is more of a like a bright rather than this like nice dark red. This dark red is also what I use for Tanjiro's hair. Tanjiro, the Demon Slayer character. Sir Pearl Grey, who is a well-known amigurumi creator, has started doing like human figures and just posted their Tanjiro, which looks fantastic. Definitely, I'm always excited to see very talented people doing like amigurumis or other like things I enjoy. But there's also a level of like, oh no, but you're very good at this. What do I do? But that is the way of creating things in a universe where you can see the vast majority of talented people in your field creating those same things. All right. Oh, and it's Sir P-U-R-L, like a knit stitch, Grey, G-R-E-Y, like a British grey, if you are so inclined to look up this individual. They also have some great pattern sets available. Hashtag not spawn. I don't believe that she has a little bow, but that looks nice. So this one has a little bow. I do not want her to step on her hair, so it's haircut time. Oh, this is very satisfying. The great thing about cutting doll hair versus human hair, there are a variety of them, but one of them is this is going to be in a ponytail for the rest of this doll's life, and it's going to look exactly like this, versus the last time I cut my hair, I've been wearing a hat all day, and so I cut it not quite the way that it should be. But hello, Thomas. Happy Friday. I'm frankly shocked that you did not say Happy Monday, but I appreciate your accuracy. This is Tifa Lockhart, one of the Final Fantasy VII characters that I will be making today. What do you think, folks? Do you want Barrett next, Cloud next, or Aerith next? I'm going to take a tea break. Thank you, Rick. Having a drink of the day does like committing to having that makes me like need to do different drinks and try different things, because otherwise I would just drink jasmine green tea all of the time, which is lovely, but now I have a little Pinterest board with all these fun drink ideas because of this stream, so thank you all for watching. Oh, that's Kender Mage's thing? I just assumed that everyone who was copying Kender Mage, the Happy Monday thing is Kender Mage's thing. I just assumed everyone who was copying Kender Mage was like, yeah, I'm into this, and so that everyone involved in Rim Alternus was a Happy Monday regardless of the day kind of person. Alright, we have one vote from Winston for Barrett. Any other takers for Barrett, Cloud, or Aerith? Or if you're very opinionated, Aerith. Alright, we have 2 votes for Barrett. And my tea has been sipped. Barrett's gonna be interesting, so I'm very excited you chose him. That's not. So Barrett is probably my favorite among these four characters. Barrett is a very he's a loud eco-terrorist dad, is the best way that I can think to describe his whole shtick. Oh, you're totally fine, Thomas. Having no idea about the Final Fantasy lore is actually great because it gives me a filter through which I know how accessible my stuff is for people who don't directly connect with like whatever pop culture I'm doing. Because I do want this to be fun, even if you're just like, I don't know who Tifa is, but that hair is nice and I do like people who punch things. So, I'm glad you are here. You do not have to participate in voting for characters you're not familiar with. So, Barrett is gun armed, so I've done my best. You can see this is as close to a hand as I could approximate. It's the right color. And then this is a little stub. I'm going to sew this on so it looks like he's got like a Samus style or Mega Man style gun arm. In all of the art for Barrett, like the drawn art, Winston thinks the description of Barrett is A1. Winston may also know the person who does the like concept art for Final Fantasy games, as I do not. But in all of the like concept art and the like remake version, Barrett is wearing like some sort of vest or like a tank top or something along those lines. But if you just look at his little polygon self in the original Final Fantasy VII, there is no vest to be seen. And also it's easier to make if there is no vest. So, or if there, yeah. So we just did like a little outside vest and not like a tank top on the inside. So hopefully this will appease. Oh, Tetsuya Nomura did do the concept art for Final Fantasy VII. Tetsuya Nomura also, I think, directed the Final Fantasy VII remake, which I did watch Winston play. I will say, art direction, 10 out of 10 for that remake. Fantastic. Everyone looks amazing. There is a family member of mine who every time Final Fantasy VII comes up just exclaims the extreme attractiveness of Cloud's character model, which is true. It's ridiculous. If you have not seen Cloud Strife in the Final Fantasy VII remake, if you want to be entertained, look up remake on one tab and original on the other tab, and you can see why some people are so very excited about video game graphics. Alright, Barrett's got his gun. He's ready to point it at people. There we go. I did make this little like separate vest piece because he's got it on over, but it is, in the original character model, it is literally just skin, so I will be true to that. And it looks pretty good in terms of like color and contrast and whatnot, which is probably why they did it in that original low poly design. It is only the lightest of spoilers to tell you that Barrett is a dad. His daughter Marlene is adorable. He's surprisingly a very good dad for a man with a gun for an arm, or even just like a person with any kind of arm. Make sure this fits. Ooh, just barely. Okay. This is my best approximation of a vest. Begone! It's... Yes. Sometimes when I've been playing a game or watching a show or something for long enough, I kind of forget how silly the premise is. Oh, Big Gun, Big Heart! Oh, he's great. Love Barrett. His voice actor in the remake is also absolutely stellar. Really catches the vibe of the character. It is ruined slightly by the number of voice lines that get repeated, which is just the thing that occurs in video games at times. They also, in the original game, when you win a battle, there's a little fanfare that plays, and it goes like da 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 da, which I believe is in most, if not all, of the Final Fantasies. But since there's not really an end of battle screen, it's more like action game in terms of like camera aesthetics. In the remake, they sometimes just have Barrett sing that, which is cute the first like 3 times, and then it becomes annoying, unfortunately. Maybe some people love it, but it was not my favorite after the first few times it was executed. Okay, his right arm. Boop. I will say also that in terms of Final Fantasy lore in general, my knowledge is mostly picked up from bits and pieces of conversations or YouTube videos, as the case may be. I played through a good portion of 4, the Nintendo DS remaster, I believe. I really liked the art style on that one, actually. But I didn't know what Final Fantasy was. I didn't know why there were Roman numerals on this game. I just saw that it had a cool magic guy in it, and it was for my Nintendo DS, which is the only game system that I didn't have to share with my siblings. And so I wanted this game. And I didn't really understand how some of the strategies that you might want to implement while you were playing a JRPG, which is the genre of the game, a Japanese role-playing game. Like, I don't know, saving the game in multiple slots so that when you get stuck surrounded by enemies and you are dying all the time, you can go back to a different save. This is why I never finished the game. But I thought that the characters were so cool, and I loved that there was like a neat airship. That was my first like steampunk-esque exposure. This was back when I was a kid and my parents made me exercise, and so I would bring my Nintendo DS and sit on a bike and pedal as slowly as I possibly could while completing random encounters in Final Fantasy IV. Alright, tea break. If you're chilling in the chat and enjoying yourself, please do share if you have a relationship with the Final Fantasy series, what that is. If you do not, what are games, either video or tabletop/board, that you have a strong connection to? I would love to hear. Alright, the turmeric is very strong. Tea break complete. Now it is time for the part that I've been waiting for. So Barrett, as you can see, is black and has short hair and like a beard, which is not, it's not best represented in like a crochet topper like this, but it works really well in wool felting, which you may recognize as the technique I used turmeric tea, at the technique I used to get the red on Boba Fett, where you just take a little bit of floof and you take a felting needle and it has all these little barbs on it, and you stab, 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 and it catches them and the little fibers go inside whatever you're stabbing. It was also used to less effect while I was making a tiger, but I quickly switched. Rick has played through like 10 hours of every Final Fantasy, but no more. That's real. I respect that you have continued to like pick up each new one and try to do it. And I feel like with 10 hours, you do get an idea of the characters and the way the gameplay goes and that kind of thing. Like, it is certainly not the entire game, but that's a good wide but not deep. Halo is Thomas's current shoot 'em up, and his grandson's gotten him into Construction Simulator. Wow, Construction Simulator sounds like a great time. I agree, Winston. Also, which Halo? Are you playing Infinite? I've heard a variety of things. I heard there's some grumpiness from fans and folks about some of the stuff in it, but some people love it. They switched to a free-to-play model, which is pretty drastic. Alright. So, this doesn't look right to me, so I'm gonna pull up a reference picture. Nobody tell me, but I've forgotten Barrett's surname. Tifa Lockhart, Aerith Gainsborough, Barrett. Oh, it was there. Well, Barrett FF7 will have to do. Wallace! It was Wallace. Alright, so I'm looking at this excellent low poly rendition. Okay, he's got the sort of shaved side up top deal, which is even worse to do in crochet, so I'm really glad we're not doing that. Okay. I also did not time out how long everyone would take, so I do have a special bonus character if we don't get to the end. Where's my felting needle? But if we run out of time, then that is that. I will be sure to finish the characters though and post pictures on social media and elsewhere. This is my slightly fancier version of a felting needle. Oh, you're listening to the music right now, which if you hear my voice, you are listening to the music. This is, I love when they use, I'm not sure what instrument this is, but that like sort of twinkle, like magical instrument in this soundtrack. Pretty much every one of the Final Fantasy soundtracks is just beautiful. I listen to them a lot in college especially, and grad school to an extent. Okay. Stab, 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 stab. I apologize for the shaky cam. I will have to find a better way to secure this table. We've got some Jurassic Park turmeric tea going on. I fear looking away from the needle lest I violently stab myself, which I did not do when I was working on Boba Fett, thankfully. But I did do when I was working on Jack the Tiger. Alright, we got the reference pick. Let's see how y'all are doing. Oh, it is Halo Infinite. Looks like Thomas is enjoying the storyline. Oh, and it's finally given him a chance to get used to the Xbox controllers, which were previously frustrating. Yeah, I have, like, not, whether it's like mobility-wise or your brain-wise, not connecting well to a controller is super, super frustrating. Yeah, it's no good. Alright, so, oh goodness gracious, we gotta line up Barrett. Hold on. It's atrocious. Okay. Okay, that's much better. Poor guy. So I'm doing the back part first, and I truly getting the top of the hair is going to be my first experiment in a sort of 3D felting. Like, this is 3 dimensions, but I'm just felting like a thin layer, and so I'm not like felting into, like, I'm not felting wool into wool, which is a whole new technique that is its own kind of complicated. Come over, Barrett. Oh man, look at him. It's just wow, that's something. I have been experimenting with different ways of doing hair a lot more lately. As I referenced with Tifa's hair, I am doing some characters from the Disney movie Encanto, and they're animated characters. So they each have like very distinct hairstyles, and some have textured hair, and some have like wavy hair, and some have straight hair. But I want them to all look cohesive, and I'm using the same like 3 colors of yarn. There's like this brown, and then a darker brown, and then a black, and that is all the characters' hair colors, because I'm not making Abuela, who is gray-haired. Listen, if I made all of the characters in Encanto, that would be like a month of my life. So, unless you personally know someone who's going to buy all of them, it will not happen, unfortunately. Although, Disney did drop the ball with their merch, shockingly, again, and they are the handmade artists of Etsy.com are coming in clutch, as they did with Baby Yoda before them, but that's another stream topic. Alright, I'm gonna fluff this up. It is so weird because I've seen so many people work with this stuff, but I have not done a ton of it myself, so you may see me turn Barrett into a disaster, but I believe it myself. I'm very glad there was a unanimous vote, and I'm glad the unanimous vote was for Barrett, but I am regretting the sheer amount of fluff. I think that once I switch to other characters, they're going to pick up quite a bit of Barrett hair, which is okay, it'll come out. Oh, Barrett's got a bald spot. This is not good. Okay. As I'm doing this, I'm very glad to get like one good, accurate Barrett plush, but I think were I to take this particular Barrett that I'm making and try to sell it at the price point that I would sell, for example, Tifa, I'm not sure if that is fair for the amount of time. So I'll have to time myself making, like, crocheting one of these hair doodads and then felting on one of these hair doodads, because oftentimes time dilation occurs, and I think something takes a lot longer than it actually does. For example, when one is being watched live on stream. So, in order to eliminate bias... Oh man. Oh boy, oh geez. Well, that's quite thorough, I must say. I don't want to stab it down too much, because then it gets all condensed, and I want to have some of the texture in the hair, but I don't want to stab it too little and have it be too floofy or fall off. Either of those would be bad. Alright, this is... yeah. Okay, I like this look. Okay. I'm not in love with it yet, but it is progressing. Sometimes I forget with art forms other than crochet, because crochet is what I do so much of, where it's literally like there's a finite number of stitches, and then once you complete them, you are done. And they literally stack on top of one another, and you can see how far you've gotten. With something like felting, it's a little more free-flowing, a little harder to tell when it is perfect. Okay, this is a good base, I think. So it's got a good texture to it. The line is all right. So we can really start adding more up top to get the true Barrett look. I do also want to give him a beard, because he does have a beard, and I want to see how that looks. Oh, I might give him eyebrows too, because he's got some very striking, like, I'm a cool guy eyebrows. But his beard is just a beard. Just a beard. Wow, this is the song that plays when you find out some capital S stuff about Barrett's backstory, so it's very fitting. One thing that is interesting about that game is every person you travel with, like, has a history in the world, has, like, something they've been through, a relationship with, like, the various things that are going on and the organizations that are in power. Organization singular, there's just one, it's Shinra. But you find out sort of slowly over the course of the game, and as more people join you, which I enjoy. It does make me curious as someone who, when I run like a tabletop RPG, I will ask everyone from the get-go, like, what is your backstory? What is your character about? What is their connection to this, that, and the other thing? So I wonder for, if I'm silent is so I don't poke myself. I wonder if for media where it's presented more as entertainment, like a tabletop RPG stream or podcast or whatnot. Oh, this isn't it. This doesn't feel good. I don't like this. Okay. Like how that would be different and how you would work with like unveiling things over the course of play while also like making it satisfying for players. I've never been running a game that was streamed. I was, if you were a patron of Rem Alternus Productions, which you should be, there is a Patreon-only game. There's a one-shot run by the wonderful Derica. And in it, I do play one of my punch girls. Her name is Killian. In this version, she is a level 1 barbarian. But in the original campaign I played, she was a multi-classing disaster, and I love her very much. Okay. Yeah, this looks better. I think I have to remember that I'm working with a sphere, and people's heads are not spheres. So it's not going to look exactly how I expect, and I can't just map it one-to-one. Thank you for listening to my little self-talk here. Wow. Now he just looks like Jesus. Okay. I have been doing some work with like kids ministry stuff at church. There is an astonishing number of historically inaccurate animations out there, let me tell you. Not that astonishing, I'm sure, for, some folks, but astonishing for this little white lady. Okay. Hello. Yes. Rick responded with glee at the name of Killian. The original multi-class Killian was in the first campaign that I ever played with Rick, which was a heck of a time, let me tell you. Killian was a delight, as was Rick's character. But I will not call him out in such a way, other than to say his character was excellent. Boop. Alright. Here we go. That's a man with a beard. The mustache doesn't look super weird without a mouth, which is good. I was a little nervous about that. I would feel weird giving him a mouth, because then I'd have to give everyone else a mouth, you know? Man. Listening to the soundtrack and talking about this game makes me want to not catch up on the sleep that I sorely need, and instead stay up playing it, which is not what I should do, and hopefully not what I will do. I will confess, these pieces have been sitting around my household for quite some time, because I have known that this 25th anniversary of this game was coming, and so slowly but surely I accumulated some pieces, put together some designs, and where's the, oh, here. Oh, we're gonna use a lot of this stuff, huh? Okay. That is alright. Let's go. But the pieces have been accumulating over a very long time. I took some pictures. Well, thank you. I think it's coming. I think the hair's coming together a little bit. Spare it after it gets out of the shower. But I did fully put off doing any of the hair pieces until within the last 24 hours. So if you've seen on my social media, like, wow, she's posting all these pictures of all these little pieces. None of them have hair. It's because the hair was made after the picture was posted. Oh yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, now I am genuinely curious to see how long a felted hair versus a... Oh boy. Oh, look at it go! How long a felted hair versus a crocheted hair is going to take. In good news, this is being recorded, so I can see exactly how long felting hair takes, although that will be felting hair while talking about felting hair and felting hair for the first time, so it will be an overestimation, I believe. Boop. And I do not think I said this explicitly before, but thank you very much to all who have joined today, particularly those who are logging in at work or other less than ideal circumstances, or those who don't have a particular connection with the crafts today. I do really appreciate that extra effort and thought and wanting to support and be present for the stream. It genuinely warms my heart. I was a little nervous before this bad boy started, but hearing from you all makes me much less so. Okay. I think eyebrows might be the thing. I think I'm gonna clean this up, like, fully later. But it's a pretty good look for the time being. And... Oh man. Yeah, there perhaps is something slightly unsafe about this very pokey needle, which does have barbs in it that have gone through fingers before, and it does hurt. But boy, what a response to have. Alright, we're gonna test this eyebrow thing. Oh, now he looks really aggressive. It's too much eyebrow. Yeah, I don't think eyebrows are gonna be it. Alright. Now here I attempt to clean all this floof off. Thomas, I have not considered a pair of leather gloves. Well, that's a really good idea. I feel like I've been reluctant to use things like thimbles because I don't like metal on my hands. This is the only piece of metal that touches my hand, and it took a while to get used to, but it was well worth it, let me say. I think Winston crochet might be a craft that is harder to do with gloves on, but if it's just for the felting part and I'm like holding with this hand and the leather gloves, the thing is my fingers are very thin. Like here's a pen for reference. I got very tiny fingers, and so most gloves my fingers would be rattling around in them a little bit. Also true of most bowling balls. Fun fact. But if I find a really good pair, I would definitely invest in some. Then I would feel like a falconer. Falconer who just stuck felt in her mouth. Excuse me. Yeah, I do think, Thomas, that one, on the holding hand would be helpful, because the stabbing hand is my dominant hand and also the one that does the most. Oh, dude. Okay, actually, now that I see his head on his body, I'm very hype about this. My mouth is full of fluff. Hang on. Ah, thank goodness for the drink of the day. while I am sewing up Barrett, all of y'all in the chat can consider whether you would like me to do Aerith, who is a magic-wielding flower girl, or Cloud, who is a big sword-wielding cool soldier guy with a cool motorcycle. I am not making either the motorcycle or the sword today. Though I did make a big Cloud for a commission a while back that you can see on socials. Oh, all of my like social media thingamabobs and various other links. Oh no, this needs to be fixed promptly. I've made a terrible error. But to finish my perhaps more important self-promotion, all my links are in the description, as they say. I would also love if there are folks here with the means to do so. I will be posting about this officially tomorrow because it will be 2 weeks out from the event itself. But I'm participating in the second annual Knit for Food Knit-a-thon. It is supporting No Child Hungry, Meals on Wheels, and World Food Kitchen, and raising awareness for food insecurity. I will be knitting for 12 entire hours. I will probably be... I did it last year, and I survived. My hands made it. Actually, I don't think we need that much. But I have some knitted goodies that I will be releasing tomorrow for folks who donate, and the link is down there, and the link to social medias where you can see the big Cloud with the big Buster sword. Links are down there. You will not have to smash any buttons, I promise. You will not have to subscribe or follow either. You can just look at the sword, and I won't be offended. Okay. I did not consider how difficult it might be to sew this little man together when I can't see where the stitches are. Before Winston says it was just bear with male pattern baldness, which is unfortunate but humorous. It happens. What a guy. What a dad. What a gun man. It looks like we have 2 votes for Aerith as well. So I'm glad y'all are in agreement. When I was doing the poll for the stream where I crocheted the tiger, I said, hey, I could either do the tiger for Lunar New Year, which is very soon, by the way, or make some tiny weapons. And the vote was split evenly down the middle. I tried and failed to do both. Alright. Tifa, Barrett, and T. I'm putting Tifa near the T because that's a funny pun. Tifa. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. This is the last of my turmeric tea. I made a big ol' pot of it. You can see quite a few tea bags were used in the making of this. Alright. Another head for Aerith. Ba ba ba. Aerith is a good example, actually, of, I described earlier the difference between where the arms are attached with crochet, like as you go, and when the arms are sewn on later. This is a good example of when it works well to attach them as you go. It looks better from the front. But since Aerith has like a little dress with a high waist and short sleeves, this is just 4 rows straight on top of each other in the same color, and I don't have to do any fancy color switching other than when I put on the arms, do her skin tone, and when I put on the skirt, do the skirt color. So that works out really nicely. I developed a version with like a little flare on the bottom for like dresses and robes and capes and such. So I used basically this exact dress design when I was doing all the Encanto characters. I did it first because I needed to do a simpler version of that Baby Yoda, which I'm sure you are all familiar with. Perhaps too familiar. One thing I will say about having a prominent hobby is that, and this is not a bad thing, so please do not feel bad if you have participated in this, whenever there's some sort of like viral or popular thing having to do with that hobby, you will receive information about it from so many different people. For example, the first 3 months after like plush Baby Yodas began to take off, I could not log on to Facebook without a friend or a family member or a random commenter being like, hey, have you seen this? You should make one of these. Which the first time it happened was excellent. And I did make one of them, and I'm glad that I did. But the rest of the times more just made me smile of like, oh, yes, I am aware of this. Bernie Sanders, the Bernie Sanders doll was another one. It's everywhere. Currently, the one that is everywhere is there's a TikTok trend of trying to knit with noodles, which I've seen people do in different ways. It's very satisfying to watch. I do want to eat the noodles when I watch them. I've considered doing a crochet with noodles one, but I crochet fairly forcefully, and I think I would break the noodle. Also, I wouldn't feel good about eating a noodle after it had like run through my hand. A variety of reasons. Leave a comment if you want me to crochet some noodles. I'm also gonna pop our playlist back to the beginning. I think it has ended. Hang on. This is what I would like. Thank you very much. The unfortunate thing about having a 2-hour stream is that I have to find 2-hour mixes or halfway through loop the 1-hour mix. I feel very bad sticking this needle into either of those figures, so it's going in Boba Fett where you can't see. This is the hair piece for Aerith. She's got a pretty iconic, sort of curl ponytail thing. This is actually 2 different curls that, when you put together, approximates how the hair looks. Oh dear, how did I do this? It approximates how the hair looks in the game. When I was first learning how to crochet, like back when I was a kid, these like spiral thingies are actually pretty easy to do in crochet. So a lot of people take advantage of them. That's why you see a lot of like octopus, jellyfish creatures, or like curly haired. How did I put these together? Oh dear. I think this was it. Yeah, this was it. So you do see a lot of those because the curl just sort of, it happens naturally. Like I did not do anything other than stitch out and then it wound up. Aww. Kendra Mage's wife was sad when there was a new Mandalorian episode with no Baby Yoda. Welcome, Kendra Mage. You missed me getting upset at Tom for saying Happy Friday instead of Happy Monday earlier. So, you were here in spirit. Kendra Mage is the common purveyor of a Happy Monday in a stream comment section among Remalternus. Thank you for joining. They ask what the most difficult thing I've ever made is. The most difficult thing in recent memory that I have ever made was that, I don't want to say full size because it's not a human size, but like a 12-inch big clown with like a full buster sword, because I did individual yarn strands for the hair, and that was tough. I also had to like make a torso that went up and then in to show that it was like a sleeveless turtleneck, that like the sleeves ended here. It was difficult, but very worthwhile. I will say more about that when I get some brown yarn to sew on this headpiece. So that was tough. I also did a Tanjiro from Demon Slayer that I mentioned earlier. The actual making wasn't too bad, but trying to get... He has a very iconic, like, checkerboard coat, which is... you've probably seen it, even if you're not familiar with the show. It's green and black. Happy Monday to you too, Kender Page. But switching colors in crochet is tedious, and it's hard to tell on these, but as you work around, not every stitch is directly on top. So here's one stitch, and then it goes a little bit to the right, and a little bit to the right, and a little bit to the right. So you can see with the color change here between the dark red and the dark pink, even if you go straight up, I did it on the exact same stitch, but even in this tiny little thing, it moved over, and so doing a perfect square, it ends up just sort of looking like a square that's leaning, which is tough to do. So I had to think of some new techniques for that, and I tried doing it in like this little style, but it just kept it twisting. Oh no, this is not the this is an alien. This is not Eric. Oh goodness. That's funny. So that was hard as well. I also had to do... Anime hair can be very difficult in general. Tanjiro is difficult. The thing I had the most hard time making were probably some of my like early things working from patterns, because sometimes, especially if you're like, even if the pattern is really well done, but you're like not familiar with like what the stitches are that you're using or what it's supposed to look like, you just stare at the thing and it's like, flip this over and work in the stitches on the other side, and you're like, what stitches? Wait, like, is there a video somewhere? Help. So I think those early days were occasionally difficult. Sometimes reading my own notes is difficult, but for the most part I remember what I mean, and I've come up with enough of a shorthand to get by. Thank you for saying I have patience. I have patience when it comes to some things. Fiber crafting, definitely top tier for Janity's patience. If you've ever seen me attempt an action game, you'll see that that is not true in all areas of my life, perhaps. But oh, and a little note about these little stringy thingies. She's got some very striking bangs that kind of hook over, which can be achieved by skipping one of the little loops, so there's a little bump that holds it up. That's one of the stitches that I learned in the early, like, what on earth does this mean days, called a back loop only stitch. The more you know. Aerith, to be fair, and some significant stuff happens in plot things, so just a reminder that this is a light spoiler zone, so do keep the chat to only the lightest of spoilers. Aerith you meet, and she's just this sweet little lady selling flowers in this sad sad cyberpunk city with very heavy-handed metaphors of social class. There's literally the people who live on the top near the sun, and then the people who live underneath it where there is no sun. Which I truly am a very big sucker for a heavy-handed metaphor, especially for some reason in Japanese games. I don't know why. I think I just have a certain amount of affection for it, and so I let some games get away with stuff that I probably wouldn't in, say, a novel or movie. Like, I make fun of Snowpiercer for this exact same thing. It too is maybe not cyberpunk, but similarly dystopian zone where the rich people are on the front of the train and the poor people are on the back of the train. But she's selling flowers on the bottom parts, and she's got some cool magical abilities. I do like her a lot. There is, as there so often is, a bit of a much more so, well, that's not true. I was gonna say much more so in the fandom than the original game, but then I forgot how I play games. But I was going to say a bit of a love triangle between Tifa and Aerith as they vie for the affections of Cloud, who's the coolest protagonist, man. He's actually genuinely very cool. I like him a lot. But whenever I play video games, I either totally miss the any sort of romance option, like I don't notice that it was offered, or I just choose the most neutral option possible. Like, you're allowed to choose someone to go on this like Ferris wheel ride with, and so I chose Yuffie. I was like, she seems like she'd like it. She's like a young girl who you can meet, but a very like little sister kind of vibe. I was like, I could go on a date, but I don't want to. I did make it to Valentine's Day in Persona 5, and just hung out with my best friend Ryuji, which was ideal. It was great. So I've missed most of the romancy content of the original game, and they do play it up more than a bit in the remake, and they just add even more women who just think Cloud is ridiculously attractive. But were I to take a side, I'm a big fan of Aerith. But Kindermage says that romance in video game is weird. I've never played Dragon Age, but I do know that there are some like romanceable options. I'm always intrigued by games like Dragon Age or Mass Effect, where there are like romanceable non-human characters, especially when they actually lean into elements of like culture and biology and like the things that make a alien or different species like unlike a human or whatever you are playing as. Because like, this is my girlfriend, she's a human, but she has red skin and horns, is just sort of a not an interesting story, and reveals more about like what the person is going to the game for than perhaps I would want to know. But yeah, it is there. I do appreciate when it is like offered as a good but non-mandatory option. I did feel a little like I could tell that in Persona 5 the game really wanted me to have a girlfriend or multiple on Valentine's Day. But I do really appreciate that it was like, and here's Ryuji, let's eat some chocolate. The best boy. Okie dokie. In comparison, Aerith went pretty fast, but then again, I did not make her hair on stream. So here's her little ponytail. I think I'm going to block or spray the bangs. But she's got her dress. Here's the dynamic duo, Aerith and Tifa. We are swiftly running out of room. I will not put it to a vote because there is only one character remaining, but I will take a tea break as I prepare to sew Cloud together for the final chibi. So the hair for Cloud was made 4 hours ago, because that's how this week is going. So I've got my little notes, fairly incomprehensible to any, including myself, but we've got the main piece right here with a little bang, you can see, and then what I've called strand 1, which I sketched out as 3 little doodads with a gap in the middle. The gap is where the bang will go. And then strand 2, which I sketched as 1 big doodad and 1 squat doodad. Boop. Big, squat. And they will be sewn on. One of them is going to go this way, and one of them is going to go this way, and hopefully create something of a 3D effect. Again, this is where having a low poly original model to look at is super helpful, rather than like the very intricate layers of the newer character model for Cloud. This is also, popped this up earlier, this was my take 1 for Cloud body, but I wanted to really, one, I forgot to put the little brown band that he has. I made the boots the round color, and I didn't like the way that the arms turned out, because he's got like a sleeveless turtleneck thing going on, and that just doesn't work with this kind of thing. So I did this with a little separate arm. I do have to make sure to keep the arms in the correct spots because one of them has a little like gauntlet thingy on it. I'm gonna pull up a reference picture. Gendermage says that these look like their game session notes. My game session notes are meticulous, but my crochet notes are absolutely wild because I occasionally share my game session notes with other people. Because I'm co-DMing a campaign right now, and so if they're incomprehensible, someone's gonna be in trouble. But my crochet notes are only for me, and so chaos reigns. I did with these pieces also what I should have done with Aerith's pieces, which is blocking. Where you get them a little bit damp and then lay them out, and I just unrolled them, but you can also pin down the edges so that it dries in position so it doesn't get all curly. So here's a good, like, that's a really solid anime spike right there. I don't have, like, it would look much more like what this was if I had not done that, so yay me. Glad we thought ahead. Please remind me before I sew on the arms to check which arm has the gauntlet and has the little like cap thingy. I think it's his left. But as as I have learned from trying to make pride flags from memory, that my crochet making memory is not as good as I think it is. I did make an entire batch of transgender pride earrings with the blue stripe on the inside instead of the outside. And someone had to tell me because I like posted them everywhere and they were like, hey, these look great, except that they're wrong. In a much more gentle way than that, of course, but I was wrong. So what I am gonna do, oh, this is some shenanigans. This looks very silly. This is Incredibles Jack right here. is like offset this bang a little bit so it's sort of a, yeah, like a lean down. And then I will sew these on like this so that they layer over. And then add this going this way because there's a big old spike. Yeah, you can't really tell with just my hands. Just so I get an idea of where things are going to be in a three-dimensional space, I'm going to sew the hair onto the head first, which would be a lot easier if I had left myself a long tail, huh? One moment. Absolutely essential that I keep my earbuds in so I could keep listening to this soundtrack. I do enjoy, I have had video game soundtracks on I think actually all of the streams so far. The test stream was like a Nintendo compilation. The next one was a Persona 5 soundtrack mix. The one after was Legend of Zelda, but now I have an actual reason. I'm making the characters from Final Fantasy VII, and so I must play the music from Final Fantasy VII. I don't make the rules here. I do make the rules. Alright. I believe in you, Cloud. Cloud I can say slightly less about. Again, keeping the light spoilers rule in place. But what I can say is he is like a cool stoic man who has a sword and is kind of done with everything. But it is done in such a way as to be like genuinely cool and endearing instead of like obnoxiously thinks he's better than everyone else. And he does like clearly very much care for the people that are around them. He just shows it by beating up the people who want to kill them with his big cool sword. And ironically, the Buster Sword, which is so iconic, both visually and like I've heard the term Buster Sword outside of Final Fantasy VII discussion quite often, is actually the weakest one because it's the one you start with. So of course, as you get more weapons, they are stronger. And so I didn't end up using a Buster Sword for most of the game, but it visually is just like Buster Sword, but with a flare edge in the original anyway. But I do quite like Cloud. I was not upset at all to have Cloud as a required member of my party because he does magic, he does cool sword, you can put magic in the sword using the power of materia. Kendra Mage says that Final Fantasy does have some amazing soundtracks. I wish they could remember the fight music for pre-gaming sessions for when you want to kill the PCs. I usually don't want to kill PCs, but some days. There we go. Okay. We got a little bang. The rest, in my notes, I refer to this as base hair because it just sort of, you can see it's the start for Tifa, just the cap part, start for Aerith. All right. I can't remember if I had it this way or the other way. I think I had it no, I had it this way. So, got these 3 big ol' strands. And depending on how I sew them, they will be sticking out in different ways. So if I sew them like this, they're going to be straight up. If I do it the other way, it's going to be straight down. But I think what I want is something in the middle so that as they're weighed down, they have that sort of like strand effect. A strand type hair, if you will. Aww. Kender Mage wishes they had base hair. You missed the Barrett with male pattern baldness part of the stream, but I did. Barrett's hair was felted on, and I did miss a significant patch on the back. So Barrett did not have base hair for a brief and horrible moment. Okay. Now some sewing is fairly mindless. Like here are two squares that must then be together. This square has 28 stitches. This other square also has 28 stitches. Easy peasy. Some things are a little more complex, but if you do them a bunch, you get a feel for them, like sewing little arms on. Like I know exactly which part to hold and all of that jazz. But for something like this, you cannot zone out while you are doing it. Because I have done that and then had to undo all my stitches, which once you finish something off is a real pain in the rear, let me tell you. Do not recommend it. And this is the first time I am making this version of Cloud. So, much like Barrett, I truly do not know how it will turn out. Aerith I had made before in a slightly different yarn type, and I think her head was smaller. Tifa turned out pretty alright. I had made her before. But usually when I am making something for the first time, I'm doing it all on my lonesome, and if I don't care for it, then it never sees the light of day. But streaming is quite the opposite, where not only can you all see how it turns out, but you can see why it turns out the way it does, because you watched me make it. Snip. Alright. Okay, this is coming together. Now for the final swoosh. Oh man, this is gonna be something. Only time will tell. Sorry, I keep looking over my microphone and then turning it towards me, which is not helpful for you all seeing. So I will look at my screen and see through the viewfinder. So the visual information I have is the visual information you have. That seems much more considerate. Okay. The other unfortunate thing about not having yet finished the game. Hello, I think that is Asina. I'm glad you think they look really cute. You are not alone in not being familiar with these characters. There are some other folks, my bad, other folks on the stream who have played very little to no Final Fantasy games. But I'm glad you think they look cute. If you want to see what the original ones look like, this is Tifa Lockhart, Aerith Gainsborough, Barrett Wallace, and Cloud Strife. And thank you for joining. I considered having reference photos. Oh, it is you. Wonderful. I never want to assume who someone is or how comfortable they are. But Asina is a lovely knitter, crocheter, and cool person. We chill on the Discord of one felted flying fox who does excellent 3D felt art. And occasionally play Animal Crossing. I do recommend joining the Discord if you are fiberistically inclined. I don't think that's how that should be said, but that's what I've got. I was telling folks about the magic of the knitting noodle TikTok and how I was going to attempt to do it in crochet, but I'm a little nervous that my not so light touch will bust the noodles straight in two or more. Okay. I'm gonna say this could use some wire. I'm gonna do it! Alright. Ace Attorney slap. I'm gonna go get some wire. It is right here, but letting y'all know. I try to avoid wire when I can, especially when like the stiffness of a piece of yarn will account for the shape I want it to make, like a cat ear or something like that. Excuse me. But sometimes, like the Bernie Sanders dolls need to be seated with arms crossed, so they needed wire. Or some of my Eevees and Eeveelutions needed wire. Thank you for your kind words. Someone also commissioned, I believe it's pronounced Chwinga, which is like a forest spirit from Dungeons and Dragons. And it like has like little stick arms and can like sit down and stand up and like can hold stuff. And so I put wires in the arms so it could hold. The picture they sent was of a Chwinga holding a fork. And I made one life-size, so I just sent them a fork right along with it. Actually, I sent them 2 forks because package thieves stole the first package. It's very unfortunate. Okay, let's clear off some of this space so you can see all of what's going on. If the... Oh, please sleep, Kender Mage, and thank you for the reminder. Thanks for stopping in, and happy Monday. Go get sleep. Okie dokies. Terrible news. I cannot estimate wire lengths, but that's okay. Because if we just stab it in... Maybe not. Okay. Good thing. There we go. Yes, this character, Cloud Strife, has a very striking spiky hair. There are a lot of spiky haired, but this is the spikiest of them all. The thing with the arms is to look up. One of these arms is just a glove on the end, and one of these arms is a glove and a little, like a gauntlet thingy, and also like a shoulder cap thingy. Is there a trick to getting the wire in? I usually lead with the end that I haven't crimped yet, and I like go over and under each stitch, like I'm going in, this is the chain side, and then I have crocheted into it on this side. So I weave it through the chain because the chain's a little bit tighter than the like tops of the stitches. And then just like poke it in and let it go as far as it'll go. But that's the only trick I know. A better trick would have been to crochet on the wire in the first place, knowing that the spike would have been necessary, but alas. Okay. Nope, no, we need a good spike. Good work, Spike. This doesn't feel quite like it yet. It just feels like a dude with one big spike in the middle of his head. I'm thinking. I think my spikiness has been too ambitious. I think I need to tone down my spikes. Alright, that may be a problem for another day. Now for the thing with the arms. I'm going to look up a reference photo to make sure that I know exactly what Cloud looks like. Okay, both are on Cloud's left arm. Both the gauntlet and the like shoulder cap thingy. It's very cool looking. Also, sort of a Metroid vibe, much like Barrett's arm gun. Oh, let me open the tab again. Pardon me. I want to make sure to be able to see comments. Yes, wonderful. Thank you for your patience. I have a lot of tabs open, both like metaphorically and literally during a stream. So it takes a little minute. I've got my Word document with all the links that I put. I just have, if you look and read the description of this video right now, you will see basically the entire content of one of my tabs. Another one's playing the music. I opened some social media to share that I was streaming today, so those are all open. I have another one open with the Barrett reference photo. Now I have one open with the Cloud reference photo. So sometimes I enjoy looking back on browsers with a bunch of tabs from stuff that like you're not currently doing. But you remember, oh, like last week on Tuesday, I was super interested in like videos of hamsters or in finding out the name of that one actor from The Thing and then finding out everything else they'd ever been in. So it's very interesting. I'm glad you like the music. This is from Final Fantasy VII, composed by Noebu Uematsu, who is wonderful. Even if you have no interest in the games, the soundtracks are great. I recommend the Final Fantasy Dissidia soundtrack because it has some of the best tracks from all of the different games. There are 15 of them, I think. And they've been going for a while, so there's lots of good music to choose from. Not all of it is quite so calm. There are some quite lively battle themes. No, this is his right arm. Oh! No. There's some pretty excellent battle themes, I must say. Some very, I am doing my physics homework and it's 1 a.m. and I need to be motivated, which is why I listen to the Final Fantasy Dissidia soundtrack. Yeah, I was saying earlier that every stream has had video game music just because I find it so... It's lovely in like the cozy vibe that I'm going for here, but it also is really good for like a... My alarm is going off on my phone. Lovely. I apologize for the audio. There we go. This is the right arm. Okay, good. I did it. What a relief. This extra little stitch there isn't exactly what I was hoping for. So let's pull that back. I don't know if that's better or not. Oh, it's going to be covered up by the little shoulder thing. So we're good. Alright. I think I'm going to sew the head on before the shoulders so that I don't accidentally block the head. That would be a real blockhead move. Grabbing onto the head is going to be a little difficult because of the sheer amount of spikes. Oh, thank you. I'm very glad that the arm thing worked and I did not reach the end of the stream with a inverted, flipped sort of situation. I almost had to do that with Tifa's hair earlier, but I luckily had time to make a second set. And I suppose the first set will be going in the stuffing box, as so many of my extra scraps of yarn do. You saw me using that like cotton stuffing for the most part, which works well for all things, but particularly works better than scraps for tiny little spots and spots you'll be sewing in. There are few things that look worse in sewing than to have snagged a piece of thread that is a totally contrasting color. Like if a bit of green was poking through, it does not work very well, let me tell you. Wonderful. All right, time for arm thing part 2. I'm gonna pull this little thread on the underside. I like how crochet sort of naturally curls. Same with knitting. Once you've stopped adding stitches to it, and this little piece needs to curl as well. So that works swimmingly. Okay. Arm cap. Alright, this is another be very deliberate and gentle with where you're putting your stitches sort of situation. Good. I'm stabbing a soldier's shoulder. Ha ha ha. And then gonna tie the ends together, tuck them in, and that will be the final stitch of the stream. Oh! Asina made a crochet coaster, but the ends turned into a bowl. Oops. Yeah, sometimes that curl does not always work to one's advantage, shall we say. But who knows? Sometimes bowls come in handy. Sometimes you need a bowl more than you need a coaster. I feel better about this, actually, when it's not poking straight up. Sometimes that looks silly, but this looks like, ooh, a cool anime. A cool anime. You can quote me on that. Alright. We have 4 minutes left in the stream, which means that you all will be a part of my favorite silly little thing that I do, which is taking an artful screenshot. Oftentimes actual, like, in progress work does not always look the best, but if I place them nicely in such a way as to look semi-random, maybe some materials, maybe a crochet hook, maybe the turmeric tea in there, put in some of the other tools I used, and this will be the thumbnail, and, you know, the social media sharing and all that good stuff. Alright, you think this is packed enough? Thank you. Alright. Everybody smile! Oops, hang on. Everybody smile. Part 2. Nice. Well done, well done. You are not appearing in this, in case you are unfamiliar with streams. I'm just being silly. Wonderful. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Today has been a delight, especially some of the interactions and the things that you all have shared with me. One of my big goals in doing this thing has been to... Winston can see himself, perhaps alarming. But it has been lovely to have a little sense of community, as that was one of my goals. So I do greatly appreciate all of you coming in, being kind and lovely and creative and sharing thoughts and ideas and asking good questions, supporting what I'm working on.